It is like staring into a 100-watt light bulb.
A show business, baby.
I know. No pain without show business. No show business without pain. There we go.
Yeah, I guess it's all related. There's no business without pain. I was listening to last week. I'm not even going to say it.
No,
I'll
go ahead.
leave that up.
Come on. Say it.
No, there was a point where I said something about everybody fails. You have to fail to learn how to succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the only time you...
And then I thought about it and I was like, yeah, no, that's...
Yeah, because my thing is, if you've never failed, you've never learned anything.
I mean, yeah.
Right? Because like, if you've never failed, you've never had to struggle, you've already had, everything you're doing. It's
an unspoken fraternity. It's the people that have done difficult things, like really difficult things professionally. Not professionally, because being a parent and the family thing, it's a different thing. Not discrediting it, not saying that one is greater than the other. It's just different.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean,
well, there's
executing a management strategy, getting a group of adults to like participate in what you're doing willingly. Fuck. That's a thing. If you can do that, then you got something, and you did something incredible. You did something where 80% of people that try can't.
Right. Well, it goes back to like and
it buckles them.
That entrepreneurism and politics are the two things you don't have to have any certifications or degrees or skills particularly, except for that skill of being able to build a group of people to go do a thing, and to have the tenacity to keep on going no matter what, and until it's over.
Yeah. I would always push back against clients of mine that would use language to the effect of, I want everybody to like their job, or I need them, they need to want to do it, or they need to like it, or like, I'm afraid my staff won't like this. And the response is, who the fuck ever asked what your staff thinks?
Right.
They don't have to like it.
Well, yeah, because you're paying them to be there. They're not there because they want to be.
They're not being paid to understand how they keep their job, right, or they get more money. That's the job behind the closed door. To plan it, you just got to get them to do it and not resent it. Resent you.
Right.
Participate in your game willingly. That's the bar. They don't have to like it. If you try to get them to like it, you're going to deal with a 50% failure rate.
Right.
Because folks are not going to like it no matter what, because they're just resistant to change, yes, or to whatever it is that can construct a narrative that their life is being made more difficult.
Right.
They're always going to find that thing.
Yeah, because I think what they're looking for is that, one person with passion in doing a thing is worth 10 that are paid.
It's very Welchian.
Yeah, but it's that if you're paying somebody to do the job, they're doing the job, or they don't want to do the job anymore. So they go somewhere else.
What's Pareto's law of distribution? 50% of your productivity will come from 10% of your workforce.
Right.
And then that transcends upon layer, which means 50% of that 50% will be done by 1%. And then it keeps transferring, which means the top one or two people in a company, a multi-100 million, $1 billion company, there's a handful of people
that are really
That-
doing it.
generate most of the revenue.
Right.
Right.
And that attitude, I see, is trying to go, I want everybody, or have to have everybody that I employ be those people. And that's an impossibility.
Mhm.
So you find those people and then you reward the heck out of them. And then you let everybody cycle through.
Yeah. Well, if you understand the math and the certainty of the math playing out,
Right.
then that's something you can manage.
Yeah.
And in my mind's eye, after 1,500 analyses on businesses that I've done, that's all that matters, is that the premise by which you are managing. If you don't have that, you're just flying by the ass of your pants.
Well, I think you're trying to scoop everybody up.
Well, you're managing personalities,
Yeah.
including your own, which is not a good strategy. It's not a good strategy. I've never heard a story of it working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do like the four tendencies of in getting people to do things. There's the obligers, upholders, questioners, and rebels. So like
Say it again.
So there's the upholders, the obligers, the questioners, and the rebels. And so everybody has a little bit, but most people have a little bit more one or the other. But like the upholders are those ones that do the work. So they understand, or when they understand what's expected,
and they're going to defend,
and they're going to do that because they're going to uphold that standard of what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Then there's obligers that they have to be asked, encouraged, coaxed, and obliged to do the standard.
They're going to work to the market.
Yeah, they're going to work to what that is. But they're also going to have to be encouraged to do so. They're going to be, and then questioners, they have to question.
Well, the system is the encouragement, right? The culture is the encouragement.
Or they have to go, you have to, they have to be reminded often, this is the standard. This is what we expect. And then they continue, then they'll come back up to that, because then they drop off.
Yeah.
So they don't have the internal motivation to go, oh, this is what the expectation is, I'm going to uphold that. They obligedly do so. And so they have to be highly rewarded and encouraged and reminded that this is what's expected.
Yeah.
And then questioners will question everything about what's expected. But once they get it, then they go, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll keep that up. And then rebels, they're the ones that are going to overshoot or undershoot, but they're going to get a lot of innovation in there, because they're going to go, what's really the situation, not just what's expected. They're looking at more what the spirit of the of what the expectation is, and then work in that. And those are your really interesting ones, because those are where innovation is going to happen. You're going to get unexpected results, and they're going to either blow it out of the water or not at times.
Yeah.
But they're going to be highly variable data, but they have those rewards because the synergy, because they could have that synergy of that I'm working with the spirit of it. So there's more, and it can become more encompassing, and then we can get this really neat thing. So those are the four tendencies I like to work with. That most people have in a situation.
You're very courteous to the last two. The space with the rebel is where most, more than 50% of the long-term critical mistakes are made within a privately owned business, because the rebels are the ones that would make great leaders, great managers within a structure that's already built. As opposed to the best employee
Right.
through the eyes of the boss, which would typically be
The upholders.
right.
The upholders are like, those are your ace, those are your, gold star students. Like in the classroom, it's really easy to see that there's,
because they worked out, they project working the hardest. They have few excuses. They adapt to the personality of the people that they're around, and they're affable and they're trustworthy. They're loyal.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the energy to work against you.
Right.
And I respect that. I admire it in a lot of ways. I said you're courteous to the rebels because there's, I would say if you're given a meeting where you're implementing change, there are, I want to see if I can remember this. It's been a while. There are 3 questions that will inevitably be asked by the people listening. 1, how is this fucking me?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
How is this a burden? How is this making me do more?
How is this taking advantage of
no incentive? Right.
My efforts.
Number 2, how is this guy making out off of me?
Right.
How am I being exploited? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 3 is, how can I sabotage this?
Right.
Not everyone asks these questions, but the dark end of the rebels certainly do. And because that's their process for everything.
Right.
Right.
But also I see a lot of entrepreneurs and innovators are also rebels.
That's the light side of rebels.
Yeah. The dark side, of course, there's the light side, the dark side, all that. And see, questioners has the dark side of that is they question it to absurdum, and then they go, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is working for me.
This isn't just because you saw Mandalorian and Grogu last night that we're talking about the light and dark side of the Force.
No, you brought that up. Well, actually.
Well, you brought it up. Yeah. I brought it up again.
Yes, that's all good.
Yeah,
it's that, because there's that dark side. And also, one of the things, I was reading an article a while back about how, because us as a species is capable of incredible empathy, but also incredible violence and alienation. And in, it's like Per Cecil's man is the measure of all things. It's almost like they're a cooperative species, but they don't have the violence.
Mm-hmm.
But they also don't have the depth of empathy. And then they're a violent species, but they don't, that they don't have our kind of, absolute cruelty that we could have. And they don't have, it's almost like, because we are the extremes of both of that, is that we are capable of both. Because we have great empathy, so then we can have extreme violence. But because we can have extreme violence, we can have extreme empathy. And it's about choosing which side of the world you want to live on,
mm-hmm.
that you want to exist in, that where you choose your actions every day to recreate the world in which you would like to live in.
It goes back to our conversation with Danny earlier, talking about knowing the answer. And we were talking about some complex things, right? Yeah. I mean, the struggle of the millennial parent, the children that are so different now than they were 5 years ago. And, it was said, well, trying to find, have a solution. There's no solution.
No, it's just, we're going to have to
There's no
adapt.
quick fix. This isn't some one trick pony. And that's the thing that's always bothered me about the political discourse in the media, is that, and especially on the right, is that everything is like black and white. Everything is right or wrong. Everything is either, well, it didn't work all the way or it failed.
Right.
It's not a foolproof solution. This has always been the straw man of like the changing our energy policy and climate change and go back to global warming and whatever. But it's, well, this thing will only make a 4% reduction, right? Changing the emissions policies will only reduce greenhouse gases by 4%. So what the fuck are we doing? Why would you do it? Because it's only 4%.
Right, but that 4% every year or over time adds up over
Or if you
time.
do like 10 things that are 4%.
Yeah, now you get 40.
Sure. This goes back to...
But see, that's that extreme, that one way or the other. See, I want to go back to the generations, because like I've had this conversation so many times, and then I've heard my grandparents talk about it as well, is that this next generation, I don't understand. They don't get it. And then I was having a conversation with Massimo Baclisi, who's a Stoic philosopher at NYU, and we were talking about AI and how, kids can't, I read another article earlier today about that kids can't believe that you could write a 10-page paper without AI.
Hmm?
Well, like I've written 10-page papers without reading the book. But
Same.
yeah.
Yeah.
But now that is because it's the difference between like, oh, well, how did the Egyptians build the pyramids without, power tools? Well, they did it. Like that's just because we're humans and we do the things.
Yeah.
Like the good upholders do the thing, the obligers help them, and all these tendencies, and then these all work together, and we're having the same argument as generations had before, is that that next generation, they don't get it. But like these alphas that are coming up that were raised on iPads and digital media in 2 dimensions, like they're just the next. We're going to have to evolve, and our whole system of business and society will change, because like we're not the social creatures we once were.
Mm-hmm.
That they've been raised, individualistic to a whole new extreme. Like even back in the 70s, American culture was so independent. Some researchers at IBM actually developed a whole scale of different culturalisms of collective versus independent. And even back then, we were a standard deviation away from the next most independent culture. A standard deviation. Like we scored a 93 and the next one was a 69 out of a scale of 100. So we're just going to see this next. And that's just based on the scale that we had at the time. Now that scale is going to have to be expanded. Maybe it's going to have to be a logarithmic scale about how closely we can approach the asymptote of total individualism. Like that's going to be interesting. That's going to be societally changing.
That's a sentence,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love when I can get those out every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot happening, but
right, because this is just that evolution, and we
don't know. Nobody knows.
Right.
Nobody knows.
Which great blend into today's Marcus Aurelius quote. It's each of us lives only now, this brief instant. The rest has already been, or is impossible to see. So let me say that again. Each of us live only now, this brief instant. The rest has been lived already, or is impossible to see. Which is cool, because like the impossible to see, that's the future, because the Greeks and the Romans had this great vision that we merely we walked blind on a road, merely looking into a mirror, seeing the past of the road, and that's what we projected into the future with.
Yeah, I mean, that it checks out unless you subscribe to the many worlds theory.
But then this is the year that you live in, and you could live vicariously through another you in another universe.
Yeah,
that has everything and is okay.
Well, the idea of Laplace's demon is that that if many worlds exist, then everything that could ever happen has happened, and everything will happen. And if you have an understanding of history, then you can have an understanding of future, which means you can understand everything that's going to happen, yet have no understanding of what's going to happen to you.
Yes. And I like that because my thing is that history repeats. Not necessarily does it repeat, but it rhymes.
Mark Twain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we can know the rhythm, and we can kind of know the feels of what's going to come next in the rhyme, but not necessarily know conclusively. And a good guesser, those are the the prophets and the ones who go, that pick the right stock and invest in the right thing, or make the technology and that will change the future. So they're picking up on the rhymes and the patterns, and then projecting more accurately into the future. So that's gets to one of my other favorite things of those who know history are doomed to watch those who don't repeat it from a passive sense. But if you understand history, you have a better predictive advantage to maybe guessing the right word and being at the right place at the right time for the next big thing.
I've always found fault with that quote and with that concept, because it's a bit of a straw man, because if you understand history, then you understand that the blueprint to fuck shit up is written. And all you have to do is follow it. And circle back around to politics in this country right now. I keep shaking you because I keep hitting this iPad stand.
Oh, I thought it was just earthquake.
It's going to be a fucking just a hell of a ride in that.
I've ridden out a few
I can't wait.
Higher number earthquakes, so I was
moving on.
But yes, it is easier to mess with systems than to make them better.
Of course,
right?
It's easy. It's what's man of the arena. It's easier to criticize those doing things than to do things,
right? Or to do something better.
Well, that's a whole nother thing,
right?
Right. But yeah.
And so, how do you make a system better? Is a much more interesting. Well, in systems thinking, it's also a much more complex task. Because you could put, like if you put a penny in the right place long ago enough, you could divert where the Grand Canyon was. But now, how do you make that penny? How do you angle that penny so the Grand Canyon becomes more beautiful? Yeah.
You think like every third episode we could just do the woo-woo episode? The woo-woo segment, because that's what this is.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally,
yeah, I'm in it.
That,
I'm into it. I'm not mad about it because
it just hangs around in my brain all the time.
Yeah,
you're like thinking about stuff like, oh,
that fucking Twain quote. Like that's one of those. When you hear it, it just changes everything. And it was more recently than not that I heard that again for the first time, for the last time. Spaceballs.
Nice.
And I was going through the point in my late 30s journey on my way to being a Republican, of
getting into the system.
Learning about World War II and just going through this, just watching all the docs and just being fascinated with it. I hit the camera again. And then you hear those simple words, history does not repeat, but it rhymes, whatever that is, 7, 8, less than 10 words. And you're just like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And then you read the books, you watch the long form, research pieces, and you understand. Like talk about the playbook.
Yeah. Well, you
go back a long way, and there are just parallel lines that can be found. It's
Right, 'cause,
there.
Rachel Maddow's book, Prequel,
It's great.
great book because
great.
like we're in that time again.
Mhm.
Like we had the silver shirts back in the 40s.
Mhm.
Oh, we have the red hats now.
Mhm.
It's similar song, different words, different outfits. The feels are the same.
And it was just one person ago. That's the way I like to measure history. 80 years. It's one person.
Yeah.
It's one person ago.
One lifetime.
That's
Yeah.
it. The Civil War. 3 people ago.
Right. Oh, so here's what's cool. I was on a panel last year at Phoenix Fan Fusion, which I'm going to be again next week. But I was on this panel about was after the action. It was after the action heroes, the hero's story. What happens after? And it was an anthropologist, a civil engineer, and me. And the anthropologist talks about how societies disappear, of like why they disappear. And he got it down to a nifty little formula. It was when something happens to that society that nothing else is like it has happened in living memory or in history. So that no one living knows, oh, something like that happened then, or something else like that happened back then. These are the things we did culturally to adapt.
Give me an example.
So like a drought.
Okay.
So a drought of a couple of years, okay, you tighten your belts, all that. But when there's a drought of 10 years, so like here we have droughts pretty regularly.
Yeah.
But now if we got into a 50-year drought, so that's why, we have droughts. That's why we have canals. That's why we have lakes. It's all these things. So we've managed that we know droughts happen. But then like a volcano erupts and covers the whole place with lava. Now all our water management is no good because all of our farmland is now covered in rock.
Volcanoes, all-time Hall of Fame disruptor of plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he talked about that there was this one, I forget what country it was, but that they were getting into a drought, and at the bottom of one of the reservoirs, when it started to get, there was an inscription on the rock talking about the last time that somebody left a little history that their reservoir, like that was the last time their reservoir was, that this was really bad. This is why we did all this. And it was a little marker of like, heed this warning because your water's gotten low. We've been here before. And so, but they survived it.
Yeah.
So it was this nice little indicator. So without that, see, there's a little clue from history that somebody in history went, this is a time to be be wary of. That without that, they would have to completely learn and see how long this drought is going to go and see if their adaptations culturally would bring them through, or would they disappear and somebody else of another society would come in later.
But when did a society go through a drought without record of there being a drought previously?
Well, like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was that there was no, like the last time there was a drought was beyond anybody's living memory.
That makes sense.
But there was that stone monument at the bottom of the reservoir that said, look out. So that had to have happened before without anybody's, the cycles of of droughts. So somebody did, so their adaptations did work.
Yeah.
But there's probably lots of times, like the native peoples here and the Anasazi, that they just disappeared. So we don't know what exactly their pressure was, what happened that made it so their life their lifestyle, that culture did not continue to exist. So some pressure that they had never had experience with had to come around and go, oh, well, this isn't working anymore. And they kind of disperse. And so that's happened like all over the places. Like we know about the Central Americans, but like Tepo Pepe in the Middle East, there's a few of that they have these great monuments. It was a communal society. It just disappeared. And we don't know what pressures or what things happened that they could not overcome collectively.
Yeah,
and that's the important thing about that collectively, that them as we've evolved and what has made us surpass, pretty much every other animal, that we can live in cities of 5 million. No other animal lives in communities of 5 million or more. Bees are a tenth of that. It's our ability to be collaborative and work together that allows us to have the societies that we live in. And when those break down, that's when really interesting things are going to happen. And I use interesting in the old Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times.
Well, I think about the idea of dealing with unprecedented circumstance in society. And obviously I think about right now, the past 25 years culminating in probably the next 5 to 10. I just wonder where the warnings are coming from, because they are somewhere. And since this is the woo-woo episode, this isn't the first time.
Yeah, it's not the first time, but we also,
the artificial intelligence, whatever that means, has been developed. This isn't the first time in the universe. And I'm just curious what the warnings are, how they're being received, how they're being perceived. And that who knows what, or who's got the formula to be able to make a reasonable prediction.
Where I want to go with that is why we aren't really hearing a lot of those warning signs.
Of course not.
Is because we've gotten away from the free press. So back before Reagan, our media, or before the internet even, our newspapers, our magazines, our mail, our TV, our radio, were all owned by hundreds of thousands of entities, by people and entities. Very few corporations. There were some, but there was a lot of but all the local papers and all that were very local, and they were owned by people, written for people, by people. And since Reagan that essentially quit enforcing our antitrust laws, now we've been in this race to monopoly, and we've seen that in our media, that now we're down to 5-6 entities own like 90% of it.
I don't even know how to quantify it.
Right. So that,
can't, because whatever you say, it can be debunked. It can, you could say, oh, there's only 5 guys. Well, but there's more than there's ever been at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then there's all these, and then, also like the internet and blogs and Substacks and all that. Those are people, and I love them because they're all screaming into the void. And it brings me such joy to read.
It brings you joy
because it's their reaction to that nihilistic perspective that I'm screaming into the void of how is this, and they're getting their meaning, doing the thing. But also we've gone away, our media and our local newspapers aren't doing investigative reporting. They're covering the national news because that's sensational.
They are, just doesn't get any traction because it's not sexy, because you can't make news isn't supposed to be entertaining.
Right. But all of our news attainment, is.
Right.
And, like when I go and knock on doors, like everybody wants to talk to me about, national politics, but I'm running for the state house. I want about I'm
They
about
don't know
what
what
we
the
could
fuck's going on in the State House.
right, and I can talk all day about all kinds of different things about their water, or corporations or education. There's so much that affects us every day that they're complaining about that's at the national level that actually we do here, at the local level.
Mhm.
Because the states were organized to have their own constitutions, their own powers, to be great test beds for public policy and organizing our collective societies so
Mhm.
that we can thrive and not have to live a quick, brutish, and short life without the social contracts. That we can bring this all together and make the best places we can. And then we have 50 of these all doing these test beds. And then we get some great best practices out of that. How do we combine those two? Because that's working over there and it's not quite working over here, or that would work really well over here. And we're trying that. But right now, most of our policies, because it's all done by corporations and think tanks that are funded by the Heritage Institute. So they just push all this policy. We could get it passed here. Well, and that suits our needs. So let's get it passed over here. And Arizona is one of those test beds that they push. If they can get it passed here, well, then they can get it passed other places because we are a more distinguishing. Arizonans are very independent, but yet we have to work together because we live in a harsh environment. And so we're this really interesting people because we know we have reliance on a scarce resource. We're, heartily independent, but we do work together. We need to pull together. So we're this really neat, both sides of the ideal America.
Mm-hmm.
And
a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll.
Right. And we can have these great things if we don't let the top down things happen. If we join together and do grassroots, go and do direct democracy and go, this is how we want to live. This is how we want to see Arizona. And vote for representatives that want to do that aren't bought and paid for. We can make Arizona a beacon and a leader in the country of where we could go.
Mm-hmm.
In both, in all the resources.
There's no more threat to the truly powerful. I'm not talking about people you see on TV. I'm talking about the people that are actually making the moves.
Yeah.
Writing the checks and pulling the strings. There's nothing more threatening.
Those are the kingmakers. So
Sure.
They're the keys.
The biggest threat to them is a unified electorate.
Yes. Educated.
That's
unified,
correct.
Unified electorate.
That's
because they can be unified in their message. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like in othering.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can be unified in othering, and that works in their favor, but it doesn't work in ours because there is no real other here. It's us.
Right. Right. Well, if you keep zooming out, eventually you just get to the human race.
Yeah.
That when an asteroid hits or the oceans rise, we're all the same, baby.
Right.
There's no differences then. And you zoom in a little bit.
Well,
you got you got countries and races and cultures and religions and all these sects that we exist in our consciousness. But ultimately,
right. And
it's all nonsense
when
once
the astronauts
something
come back,
greater happens.
So when the astronauts come back, they have it's something about the blue marble effect. Being able to look down on the earth as a whole and seeing that we are all on this little blue rock hurtling around the sun, and then the sun and the whole heliosphere is whirling around the galactic plane, and that this is our big spaceship. This is the only thing we got, because we are not evolved for interstellar travel. It'll be really neat one day, but sending astronauts even to Mars, which is 18 months away, like there's severe long-term health consequences to our bodies to do that. And so And then then the environment there is like makes the living on top of the Mount Everest look like a beach vacation.
Sure.
Like we, of having that bigger perspective, we can solve better problems and go into the future as a whole, as a species, as humans, rather than getting caught up in all this, this and them and us and me and, everyday petty stuff, that we can really thrive.
Well, talk about the script being written. It's there. They know how to do it. It works. It's effective. They're brilliant, and it's worked. And it's
Machiavellian.
Yeah.
Like Machiavelli wrote about it, 15
They
years
could
ago.
just retain control. If 40% of the country thinks that 40% of the country is fucking nuts, then
100% of the country is easily rulable.
Right. Then there's 2 armies and 2 sets of generals. And that's exactly what the generals want. Because if there's not generals on the other side, we don't need the other ones.
Well, then the real winners, when there's 2 armies and 2 generals, it doesn't matter where those are. The real winners are the banks, because the banks fund both of them and then use the collateral, and then suck up the resources later on whoever wins, because they don't care, because then they get the resources and
it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all predictable.
Yeah.
If A or B, if A happens, we'll go this way. If B happens, we'll go this way.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It's 6 one, a half dozen the other, the banking system. And so that's the thing that is really funding this all, is they want to be unregulated like they are. They're doing almost exactly the same stuff as they did in 2008 with the banking crisis. Like, we're about to go on that bubble again. And we haven't fixed them, because they're writing the checks for the legislators who write the regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get, the fox, fixing the hen house.
No.
But as the chicken,
in their mind's eye, the hen house is flourishing.
Yeah,
it's doing great. Yeah,
and the hen house is teetering on the edge of oblivion, of a non-sustainable. Because what are we up to, like $39 trillion in debt now?
Dude, the fuck does that even mean?
Okay, so like 11 days is 1 million seconds. A billion seconds is 31 years and some months. A trillion is 31,700 years of seconds at 6% interest. Like this year,
I have a question.
This year, we are going to make 1,000 human generations indebted to this year's spending. So 1,000 generations, because 31 years is about 1,000 human generations.
Yeah.
So that we will be 1,000 generations from now, they will still be paying, if this whole thing keeps going, will still be paying on the debt that this administration cultivated this year.
Who are they paying? Who's owed that money?
Oh, the Federal Reserve, which is the banking system, the banks.
So what is that?
Right?
Who is that? What does that mean? It's a rhetorical question, because it's fucking unanswerable.
Well, it isn't.
I mean,
because like we use this tender that we are based on this dollar because we can pay our taxes with it. That's why it's legal tender.
Buy oil with it.
Well, you can do legal exchanges and you can pay your taxes with it. That's how you can pay your taxes. That's why we use the dollar. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, crypto is getting, is circumventing that, barter, gold, silver, all those things actually like circumvent that. And so when we get to this place, historically, we get into hyperinflation. And then all of a sudden, like, it's a billion, it's a billion marks for a loaf of bread. It's $1 million for a loaf of bread. And then it collapses because of this greed of wanting all this money into the hands of a few. All of a sudden, what that does is it makes it meaningless for everyone, because money only works when it flows.
Money only acts when there's good faith.
Well, our money.
It's the same thing. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's that when it flows, when it goes through the ecosystem or the economy, however you like. I like to look at the economy as an ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And so if everything has been getting eaten by, these an alpha predator in the system,
mm-hmm.
and that alpha predator does not die or, refertilize or go back into the system, that the krill and the other things don't have something to eat, so the bigger animals can eat that, and the bigger animals can eat that. So it's just this extractive, all of this 1%, this one like alpha predator that never dies. So everything else starts to starve and dwindle away, and we're left on this, do we survive? How do we survive? And people tend not to, when we're on the survival mode, we tend to avoid an opportunity rather than invite disaster. So we tend not to make moves that will try to make our world better. We just do the conservative thing.
That's what Manson's law, right?
I don't know Manson's law.
Actively avoid anything that threatens our identity.
Oh,
goes back to the a profile of the rebel.
Yeah,
from earlier. That's I got another great premise to understand in management. Is that is human nature. Anything that threatens your identity, I'm gonna try to get around it or through it.
Especially when your identity is small.
Facing that it's not attractive.
If you have a bigger identity, so if there's lots of things in your identity, so you're a bigger culture, you're on a part of a bigger thing, but when you become this small individual identity, yes, you will do all kinds of things not to avoid that damage. But when you have a bigger identity, and the bigger and bigger it gets, the more resilient it is.
Well, there is a small subset of people that, you have two groups. Given the same scenario, the majority will immediately choose to take that scenario and find its faults and find the threat and find how it threatens your identity according to Manson's law. And then the smaller set of people, about 15%, will view that and explore all of the ways that you can use that to enhance your identity and to heighten your identity and to learn something uncomfortable so that you can be a more empathetic, apathetic, wise version of yourself. And, the latter is much more difficult to do in real time.
Yeah, it is. It takes having some tools and really having more self-identity rather than an outer identity.
It's a choice. It's just a choice. It's just a choice to choose to try to just be a little better. Just know that nothing's finished. You're not a completed work of art. The road is always under construction. And
it's a journey versus the destination kind of guy.
Right. And if you listen to enough smart people, and if you've tried difficult things and tried to learn from other people who have documented their journeys doing difficult things, you come to understand that there's opportunity in everything.
Everything. Yes.
There's enhancement in everything, and
that everything is literally a double-edged sword.
It's not about controlling what happens to you. It's just about controlling how you perceive what happens to you. And,
well, that's about the most stoic thing I've ever heard you say. Yeah, that was
All right.
pretty good. Yeah, because like our first and our last choice is how we react to the situation.
I told you it's in there. I told you
Yeah.
I read the basic bitch guide. Like I know some of the shit. I can at least regurgitate it. It doesn't mean it.
They give her a different
Actually
angle,
feel it.
which is really cool. Like I really loved how that came back to that. Oh yeah, that is a not very well. Yeah, I haven't seen that window getting to that place before very often.
Yeah, you dabble in stuff.
I love it.
You learn some stuff. Did you watch the last episode of Colbert a couple weeks ago?
I saw some snippets of it. That's about.
Any thoughts?
This is a highly disturbing time for as an American who understands, like we have an administration that has the power to cancel satire. That has never, we've got, it's growing because we've lost Colbert, we've lost, what's the other guy?
Kimmel? For a few days.
Yeah, but the other one, it was on the Daily Show.
Trevor Noah?
No.
Jon Stewart?
Jon Stewart.
He's on Mondays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've lost satire, which is that, and he and Colbert danced this amazing line that all of his bits, if you're a conservative Republican, you go, yeah, that's funny. And if you're a liberal, Democrat, you go, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
And he danced that line so beautifully because it was so on the nose. And for that to, be able, to cancel that is deeply disturbing.
You know how he was able to
do the
do
American
that?
experiment.
Yeah. He was able to do that because he's brilliant and he's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's smart and he's intelligent and he's got experience and he employed the best fucking writers that money could buy in New York City. And he had the best staff, and this combination of folks made something 4 nights a week that was beautiful and smart and well written and rehearsed and ready to be seen and heard. And we're going to loop this back around to earlier talking about the arbiters of culture.
Yes.
They're all, because Danny was referring to how these tech CEOs and these managers of the algorithm are now the new arbiters of culture, which is, arguable. But if we had more time, and it's been sitting in me for the last couple hours, the arbiters have always existed. But the difference is that they were in the shadows. I saw The Devil Wears Prada 2 a couple weeks ago, right? Yeah, and I had just watched the first one before that, and it was very, early 2000s, just, fine. I like the second one more because there's a scene, and I realized this and was talking about it afterwards with some friends, that the characters in this movie, they're high fashion, right? And there's this monologue, Stanley Tucci has this monologue in the first one about the only reason that Anne Hathaway is wearing this blue sweater is because 2 years ago, they decided that was the color blue that was going to get made.
Right.
Right. And going into production. Very powerful, very true.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how that worked. That's how art worked. Hollywood, music, the arts, physical art, literature.
Not only that, as any kind of media, any kind of manufactured anything.
There were people in smoky rooms deciding.
Yeah.
To yes or no. That's the role of a CEO.
A great example is
the last decision.
Blue LEDs. It displays. Really neat in manufacturing. So somebody really wanted that. So then they ordered a whole bunch of them so they could get down, the price down. And then everybody got an LED, blue LED display. Like, who wants an alarm clock?
I don't know, but like 30% of my graduating class in Portage High School in 2001 were going to become millionaires selling blue LEDs.
Yeah.
I haven't checked in on any of them, but I'm not optimistic as to how that worked out.
Yeah, because to get it down to the price points, you had to, really get that by a huge amount.
The point I was making is that we need... I wish that we could have good faith in these arbiters that operate at a level which we cannot and should not try to comprehend. The responsibility that these people carry, the power that they hold, the burden that they carry is something that is beyond most people. If you're a high profile, important person, you're going on television every night, or you got 100 million viewers, or whatever the fuck it is. Okay. But the people that are making these decisions in media, in fashion, in arts, in everything, they were in the shadows. They're not anymore. Some still are. But the point is that not everyone is meant to be an arbiter. Not everyone is meant to be an influencer. Not because of the faults of them, because of the influence of the vulnerable. The people that will listen to someone that's on their screen because it's on their screen.
Okay.
And I understand the irony saying this into a microphone while my iPhone is recording me across from your shoulder or over your shoulder. That's fine.
Well, okay, so let's see if I pick it up. Because we're in this state of monopoly, that there's these few people
that's the opposite of monopoly. That's anti-monopoly. It's
well, that there are these people that are making these choices, that's how that's why that blue is made.
Right.
Because that one person made that thing.
It was like that for most of history up until recently. But now, those people still exist. They just have less power.
Yeah. And now, well, to anti-monopoly is we actually have the ability, or what we need to have is actually limit the powers of scale of monopolies and go more local with our means of production.
Mm.
And that, it's that these people, we can make this here.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the things that we like. And so to really push back on this, massive globalization scale of manufacturing, and really disseminate that back out to the local things, local areas.
Mm.
So most places could manufacture, a little bit of everything that they need.
Mm.
And then the trades.
Mm.
Right now, like everything that we need is manufactured somewhere else and then brought in. And then we have the illusion of choice on that blue or that blue.
Mm.
When, each individual place, around the country has their own inner dyes and their own, the colors and their own styles. And that would develop even more quickly and would spawn so much innovation. It'd be mind blowing how many different places we could get like the best chairs at, because they would be totally different. And made out of totally different materials.
Well, if you can get them at many places, then they're not the best.
Right. It would be like this place has their local, like this, they make their style of chair that's best for them. And this one is over here. Is this,
sure.
And then, innovation really started happening again, because like we still value, like shaker chairs. They were all handmade by a small group. They had made it for with their values and in mind, that it was so light and so stable.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not against innovation, and I don't want to act like I don't want to be perceived as if that's what I'm saying. It's not anti-innovation. The demon of the accessibility of being able to innovate is that it has eliminated filters and firewalls and guardrails and synonym number 4 of weeding out shit before it reaches the market, before the consumer is burdened by the choice of not getting this thing. The benefit of Meryl Streep and Stanley Tucci choosing that blue is that folks could just have the blue,
right?
And it was fine.
It
but
lightens
and
their
they
bandwidth.
didn't spend a half hour looking through all the different shades and looking at the different mock-ups and the pictures and just flooding their bandwidth with these nonsense decisions that, quite frankly, they don't have the bandwidth for.
Right.
And that's my point, is that the overcomplication of consumerism and education and staying current on things and finding resources that you can trust, that it's a consequence of all of these beautiful tools and the globalization of our attention and our culture. That's all great, but the dark side is that this it's a burden of being overwhelmed by choice.
I think it's that our attention is already commodified. Like our attention, our data is the new oil, and we bleed it, because that's what all the screens want us to have, our attention there. But also all those choices are curated for us, of being able to look around and being of actually having to think about what kinds of other things, what color, all the shades of blue that I would want to shirt in and make it, takes so much more time away from this and doesn't give them power, and it empowers our expression and our ability to do things. And then it changes how we can manufacture, how we dye, where do we get our sources from, or materials from. I'm a little bit on the other side of that. Is I want the unlimited amount of choices, because then my environment, my ability, and my values are what weed out those choices. Goes back to like the Quaker chair, is then I have to find things that are in alignment with my values and not what is offered to me. Because as values can be given on us by what we wear, all the things and things around us, or is it comes from where we are as humans in the situation. And so we're living in this in this state where we don't know what we value. We don't have a common philosophy. We don't have local philosophies, beyond some religions and things. But like, philosophy is how you think the world works, and ethics is how you behave in that world. So when I make things, it is an expression of where I come from and my values and how I want to best solve those problems most elegantly, not because it's the easiest to manufacture and acquire resources for.
There's nothing wrong with valuing quantity over quality. The metric for me is the rate of dissolution of quality as quantity increases.
Yeah, it's the shitification of everything.
Correct. And to a degree, that's what I'm getting at. And that just compounds the psychology of the consumer and the cynicism of the public, as you spend money and you get bullshit.
Right. And so
right,
I see that what keeps that shitification in check is a bit of both.
Well, balance.
Yeah,
I mean, balance. I mean, that's the key to moving forward, is finding balance between these angels and demons.
We need to have control of our methods of production. as well as there needs to be bigger sources of protection as well. It's that dialogue. But right now we're in this state where it's all the bigger methods of production and very little individual means of production. So there's going to have to be that flip and put more of that power of means of production in the hands of everyone. And a little bit of 3D printing and laser cutting, that sort of thing kind of does it. Where I would love to, because if we allow corporations to continue having the stranglehold on means of production, and when robots come in and take care of most of the mining and farming, we're going to be left out in the wind. When we can have the robots doing all the mining and farming, and then everybody has access to pretty much all the resources that they could want to then create means of production, of making whatever they would like. The amount of innovation and difference, I think, would be mind-blowing, because we have not seen much innovation in the last 20 years. Things kind of look the same, styles kind of look the same. They're all kind of there. But when you put in the hand, people, completely in the hands, of their ability to, their expression, their make things out of their values, then we will really start to see amazing things come out. Because it's a completely different side than what we're in now, is where individuals cannot compete at the economies of scale as corporations.
Oh, God.
But if we put it back over into the people's hands, we get a lot more interesting.
I'm glad you said that. People can't process the economy of scale to that which is happening all around them all the time. Who can keep up?
Right.
Who can keep up?
It's
not a lot of people. Not a lot of folks.
Did you ever watch The Good Place?
I know about it.
Yeah, I call it The Good Place problem.
Yeah.
That right now, there's so much, like every choice has all these negative consequences for our immediate gratification. And to get away from that, it would be, but you also don't have completely unlimited access to everything at the local level.
Of course not.
And so there is some limitations there. And we need limits. We need limitations, because it's like you can do anything. Well, you tend to do nothing, because we need some limits.
Well, I mean, we're still going to be limited by our limbic system and the clock. Yeah. Those things aren't going away anytime soon. And those are our greatest limitations.
They still don't really spar any great innovation except for urgency and FOMO.
Well, but I think we're saying the same.
We're
similar
saying
thing. The rate of innovation has just been funneled up to where the only people, the only
Yes. Yeah. Now you're getting
innovation can only happen at this very tippy top of the pyramid,
right?
Because those are the only people and machines, and that's the only place where the capacity to continue to advance is possible.
Yeah. So they're the ones who set the whole domino pyramid in motion to make it happen.
And then
when we
trickles down.
Yes. And it all trickles down when we can build up, and then you have all these different places doing all these different things, and you get these completely different solutions for the same thing out. That's cool.
So the difference, and I think all three of us are trying to say the same thing, the difference between Meryl Streep and Stanley Tucci, forgive me, but everybody knows what I mean, and the people that are managing the algorithms, is that the formers worked their entire lives in an industry and fought and clawed and just killed to get to the point that they were at. And you would typically get into that office for the last 10 years of your career, maybe, right? It was like elected office. You do this for a while, and then that's probably all you can take, and that rite of passage has been able to be bypassed now to become one of those arbiters of culture. Frankly, there's not a lot of people in history, and I can't think of anyone right now in their 30s that should be an arbiter of culture.
Right.
You don't know shit.
And all they're really, and all I see they're doing is they're, just like the music that's placed on the radio, it's similar.
What's a radio?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a thing that plays. Yeah. Anyway, thanks. Like books, they're things that we chop down trees. We
Never heard
chop
of it.
down trees for. Yeah. So it's, we want something familiar, but new. So it's the same thing, just given a little different color, a little different hue, maybe change the curves on it. Oh, I'm describing the iPhone. I'm sorry. It's a whole thing. It gets a little bigger, it gets a little smaller, it gets a little curvier.
I mean, keep going. I might just make your first ASMR clip. Talking sexy talk about iPhones.
Yeah, so that's where our innovation is now. It's these subtle little moves. It's just a little different color. It's a different hue. It's a different material.
Brilliance is in the details.
Yeah. And
the
that
marketing.
real innovation to solve real problems, like we're going to have to do systemic changes to solve where we're heading, because like we're going to run out of oil. We're going to have to do some dramatic things. We're going to have to run out of coal. We're going to run out of, the insect population in some places has decreased by 70%.
That's bad.
And then that's like for the whales, if like 70% of the krill went away in the oceans, like how much longer till like complete, environmental collapse? Like, we don't know, because we've never been in this situation before. But we're not changing anything either. Some places in Europe they're actually turning away from they're going to more red lights for walkways and streetlights. So it doesn't, the bugs don't die on, and doesn't disrupt the bats and the birds and our sleep rhythms. Like, we don't have to do the same thing we've always done before.
But we do have to argue about it.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're going to solve all of it.
Eventually.
Right here.
Yes. Eventually.
We're going to come up with the answers to all of our problems.
Well, at least some really ones that have not been proposed before. Yes.
Hey. If I say it, I speak it into existence, right?
Right. Which, we've covered a whole lot of interesting, actually, I think, really clear illustrations of problems. The problems we face. And that's the first step, actually solving them appropriately. Because we argue a lot, like I get a lot of discussions about education and that sort of thing, because that's a hot topic here. But it really gets down to that we can't solve the problem in the same mindset as we made it. So I feel one of my superpowers is that I can see it from a different perspective.
Mm.
And then we can see it clearer. And then we can see solving it from a different, mindset than when we caused it.
Yeah. Again, all of the problems will be solved right here.
Cool. That could be a nifty title. All problems solved right here.
And I got to change the graphic, and I'm just fuck, man. Still building this thing. Now we're changing the fucking name. All right. Till next time. Bye-bye.